Welcome back to the Right Hand Revolution, and today's topic is a little bit spicy, okay? So just forewarning that I'm not going to hold back any of my thoughts or opinions on this topic. Today, we are talking about AI and how AI might be the very thing keeping you from actually starting or building or growing your virtual assistant business. In fact, AI could potentially even turn you into a $6 an hour VA, which is, I know, what nobody wants around here, okay? Nobody wants this. Now, before we go any further, all right, I'm just putting it out there that I do not think AI is inherently wrong. Now, I know that there are a lot of conflicting opinions on like morality of AI and how it affects the environment, all of that, but I do believe as small business owners, AI is an invaluable tool to have. But unfortunately, a lot of new VAs that I'm talking to are not using it in the right way. They're using it at the wrong time, and they're using it to replace something that cannot be replaced if you want to build a successful, sustainable, six-figure plus virtual assistant business. I'm seeing this over and over and over again on the calls that I'm on with women literally every single week. And the thing that really just hurts me is that I get on calls with women who feel like they need a better niche to be successful, or they feel like they need a better sort of client finding strategy, or they need to learn new skills that they maybe don't know yet because they aren't seeing the success that they thought they would see. And a lot of the time when I ask them, oh, well, like, how did you figure out how to do all of this? They tell me, well, I went onto ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT how to start my business, how to start a virtual assistant business. What should I do step by step to actually start this business? The thing is that people are doing it, right? They're following those steps. They're doing all of the right, making all of the, right things. They're preparing. Let's call it preparing, right? They're doing all the right preparation. They feel like they are, but they're still not moving forward in their business. They still have no clients. They still are, if they do have clients, using super, super, super low rates. And they're still doing what I like to call business illusion, which is things like setting up a website or picking your services before you even actually have had a paying client at all. So in this episode, okay, I want to break down all of the ways that AI is blocking your virtual assistant business right now, okay? It's stopping it from growing. We're going to go over, okay, the first thing we're going to go over is how it actually prevents you from building the mental skills that entrepreneurship actually requires, okay? The second thing we're going to talk about is why the advice it gives you, it sounds correct to you, but actually never leads to building a real business or landing a single real client. And the third thing is how it actually is removing all of the trust signals, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into this, all of the trust signals that clients actually use to decide whether or not they want to work with you. So the thing is that I really want you to hear before we even go into this episode is that I know right now that you are trying to use AI, and in the smartest way you know how to use it, and that is to understand how to do certain things, right? But this is not how we can use it if we actually want to be successful. Now, at the end of this episode, my goal for you is to be able to tell the difference between actions that are using AI that actually feel productive versus ones that actually create a business for you. So again, right now, a lot of the things that you might be learning about or hearing about if you're using AI to build your VA business, you might think are actually things that you should be doing, right? Because we trust AI, even though it can't spell strawberry. Look it up. Okay. But before we get into those, I'm just gonna say something that might like annoy you a little bit. Okay. There's a little bit of hesitation here because again, I know how much we all depend on this now. All right. And I catch myself too. But the reason that you haven't been able to build your business yet, or you haven't gotten your business the level you want, or that you haven't gotten the clients that you want, is because you are outsourcing your thinking to a robot. Yep. You're outsourcing your brain to a freaking robot. Okay? Like I said earlier, this episode is not anti-AI. Okay? I use AI. My students use AI. Like I said, it's a tool. But powerful tool, just wrong stage of the business, okay? And that powerful tool in the wrong stage of your business is not going to accelerate your business growth, even though I know you think it might. Ultimately, it's going to delay you, and it's gonna do you dirty in the long run. It truly is. First of all, I just want to say that over the last 4 weeks, I have had at least 7 calls per week with women who want to come into the VA Accelerator, which is so amazing. This is literally the most calls I've ever had consistently week over week, which is just so cool. And because of this, I've gotten to learn about so many different situations, especially when it comes to AI, because when I started the VA Accelerator program, AI wasn't a thing, right? Like AI was not a thing at all. So it's interesting now seeing sort of the evolution of how AI is actually coming into the online business space and really screwing people over. Like, if I'm being honest with you. Which I always am. And at least half of the people that I get on calls with now tell me when I ask them, so what have you been doing up to this point to start your business? At least half of them say, I asked ChatGPT how to start a VA business and I followed the steps. Now, there may be more than half. They may just be a little bit embarrassed to tell me that, but some of them do, right? Some of them do. And yet, months later, they still have no clients, okay? They've made no real connections with people. They have no actual traction in their business. So today we're talking about why. All right, today we're going to talk about why, and we're going to talk about the things that you absolutely cannot continue to outsource if you actually want to be a successful business owner. Okay? So, what is sort of the problem here? What is the problem with using AI? The problem with AI is that it gives you a lot of information. So, you feel like you're making progress in your business when you use it. But learning actually does not build your business. Action does. And when you use AI, you're actually protecting yourself from the experiences, those exact experiences that actually create action and create progress in your virtual assistant business. Ultimately, you will not build a successful business, right? You might have refined your Instagram bio, but everyone can tell it's written by ChatGPT. You might have clarified your niche, but every single other virtual assistant that's using ChatGPT is going to have the exact same niche. You may have chosen your services, but again, every single VA is going to have those exact same list of services. Even if you say, specialize it for me, or me, what should my services be? It's going to say the exact same thing every time. Even though you tell it to sound like you, or write more friendly, or remove your M dashes or whatever, right? You might be doing all of that stuff and you might feel like you're making progress and your brain rewards you for progress, right? Because from that, you feel relief. You're like, okay, I finally have a plan, right? I've step by stepped all this out with ChatGPT. I feel like satisfied that I've been productive today building my business. But guess what, girl? Your life has not changed. All right. Your life has not changed. AI gives you the feeling of progress without the actual evidence of it, which is what we need to build a business. Okay? To build a business, you're going to have to do really risky things, right? It's going to feel risky. You're going to have to get rejections, right? Multiple rejections. We're actually having a no challenge. A few of my students in the VA Accelerator are having a no challenge right now to see how many rejections they can get, right? And, okay, you've never actually made a decision. Talking to ChatGPT is not making a decision and actually not taking any action. Feels very productive, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're staying exactly where you are, comfortably uncomfortable, playing it safe, and your human brain, as humans, okay, we will choose making this fake progress every single time over being risky, right? Which is what you need to do to actually start a business. So the safest place in entrepreneurship really is like in that little prompt box that you have in ChatGPT. That is where you can just stay safe and you can think you're a business owner, but ultimately, you're not going to have any clients and you're not going to have a business. So most people in this case, right, think that starting a business is a knowledge problem. That probably is that what you think too, right? Like, oh, if I just knew more, I would be able to start a business, right? If I just, had the right steps or I understood, exactly what to say to clients, I would, have a business or I'd start my business. I know that's what we all think. And that's what I felt too. Entrepreneurship is a active building and decision-making journey, okay? You won't feel ready before you do it, right? You have to actually reverse the order of what you think you should do. Confidence comes after action. But as beginners in this space, right, we reverse that order. And this happens with everybody, okay? This happens with everybody. We try to feel ready before we actually do the thing. Right? Instead of like confidence comes after action, we try to wait for the confidence before we actually take the action. And AI is perfect for continuing to validate that cycle, right? You ask a question, you receive an answer, and okay, my question has been answered. I've made progress in my VA business, right? That's how we feel. But that relief that you feel from the understanding does not actually move you into action. And maybe you are experiencing this right now, right? Like, you can't study how to swim in a book. Like, think about it, right? You could watch YouTube videos about, swimming. You can like sit here and practice like your strokes in the air, but until you jump in the pool, right? Like, you're not actually gonna know how to do anything. But in business, we don't think like that. Business actually begins when your actions can affect another human being. And if you are stuck in, AI world, guess what? You are not affecting another human being at all. So that's what I kind of want your marker to be, all right? If you're building your business right now and you haven't seen any sort of progress yet, that's kind of the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, does your action that you are taking in your business actually affect another human being? Or is it all just business illusion? Is it all just chatting with, chatty or, whatever you like to call chat? People have different names for it. And I'm not just talking about ChatGPT either. This can be Claude, this can be literally Gemini, any other AI model that you are talking to. Okay, so the thing you need to understand is that entrepreneurship starts once all of the instructions that you're getting stop. Okay, which I know is really scary. I know it's really scary. But like I said, confidence is not created from information. So let's go with our first point here. Okay, so AI actually prevents mental connections. It prevents you from making and understanding and creating those new neurological pathways within your brain that you're going to actually need to build your business. Okay, that is how businesses are formed, right? Every time that you face like uncertainty in your business, every time you make a decision or a choice and the world doesn't end, right? Your brain updates your self-trust in that moment. And that is literally how businesses are built. But when you ask AI what to do every single step of the way, the conclusion appears without that internal processing. And we think that we're doing it to be smart and to be fast and to skip the confusion, right? And to skip maybe the indecision or making the wrong decision. But what you're actually doing is skipping the experience of learning how to be a business owner. Every generated answer that you get from AI is a decision you did not practice. And you need to practice, right? So instead of thinking, what services would actually fit me, or what services would my client like, instead of deciding, okay, someone wrote me this email, how would I actually respond? Or, I've been DMing somebody, how would I respond in that? You ask, write me a message to respond to this message, and you copy and paste in what they said to you and you get the response, right? Your brain will never get stronger and you will never get more confident just watching AI do the repetitions for you, because that's really what it is. You need to actually put in the reps. You need to put in the work to be the business owner that you want to be. Now, this is why also people consume, start your own business content for years and still feel unready, right? They don't feel ready to start their business. They've learned about business. They've learned about business for years, but they've never actually practiced being a person that actually runs a business. So I want you to really understand that if you want to be a business owner, if you want to move from that employee mindset right now to that business owner mindset, you need to make the decision that you are going to make progress without somebody else making decisions for you. And you're going to make the decision that when it might feel not right, you're going to decide, even though you don't know if it's the right decision or the wrong decision, right? It's going to be imperfect. So we all need to come to terms with this, okay? Because again, I am a perfectionist, okay? And this is hard for me. But what I have learned is that deciding imperfectly, it's what teaches you and grows your resilience and allows you to become the woman that you've always wanted to become, that business owner version of yourself. AI continues to enforce that employee mindset, okay? Which is borrowing intelligence instead of building it for yourself. That's why too, I'm seeing a lot of women come in to these calls, all right? Some women even coming into the program, okay? Who they're like, okay, Rebecca, I've been, doing all of this, and I created my list of services and da 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 da. And sometimes people don't even actually read the list of services that AI puts out for them, and they don't know how to do even any of the things that AI told them they should offer. And it's a whole thing, right? And then when their client asks them something about that specific thing, they're like, oh my gosh, right? They don't know what to say. They're like, oh, let me like secretly pull up ChatGPT and ask it so I can like respond to my client. That's not cool, guys. That is not cool. Don't do that. And people will know, okay? But the thing is that you have to learn here how to trust yourself. But you'll never learn how to trust yourself until you actually use yourself and depend on yourself for the answers. Now, reason number 2 that ChatGPT is ruining your business before it's even built is that ChatGPT will always give you the most common generic advice it possibly can. Why? Okay, why? It is a prediction model. So if you don't actually understand how ChatGPT works, I'm going to break it down for you this is obviously very, very, very high level, but I would highly recommend that anybody who's actually using AI, that you actually learn like how it works. Okay, like, and don't ask AI. Okay, don't go on ChatGPT. How do you work? I mean, you could maybe, but I would like go on YouTube and find some like really smart people who know what they're talking about and actually understand how it works. Because once you understand how it works, you're going to be like, maybe I shouldn't be using it to write my emails for me. So the way that ChatGPT works is it predicts things. Okay, it's a large language model, and essentially what it does is it looks at the words that you've given it and it predicts what the best word is that's going to come next based on algorithms and percentages and all of this other stuff, right? All this other computer stuff. So when you give it a string of words, it's going to predict what it thinks you want to hear. It does not actually think about anything. Okay, it does not actually think about anything. All it is saying is like, oh, okay, this word, this word, this word, it must be this word, this word, this word. Okay? So it predicts common advice. It does not give you effective advice. This is really important. You should not be getting any advice from ChatGPT. It is not an advice-giving tool. Again, it's predicting what it thinks you want to hear, which is why a lot of the time it will always side with you. Right? Because it says, okay, this person, knowing human nature, ChatGPT does not want to go against human nature, right? It wants to support you. It wants you to use it more and more and more. So it's going to be like, you're the best. You have the right answers. Yes, do this, do this, do this. Here's what most people are doing. And it's going to tell you what most people are doing, right? It's going to give you the general standard plan of what building a VA business looks like, which most of the time is pick a niche, list out your services, create packages, right? Different tiered packages, post content, wait for clients to come to you. And then nothing happens. And hey, you followed the steps, right? You followed all the great AI steps that it gave you. This genius thing just gave you the best information in the world that nobody else has, even though everyone has the exact same information. And guess what? It led nowhere. It led nowhere. And the thing is that when a VA client wants to work with you specifically, there is a level of trust that needs to be built. And when you use AI, that trust goes away. Everyone can tell. Literally everybody can tell now. Even if you remove the M dashes again, even if you change some words or rephrase things, we can still tell. Okay, we can still tell. Especially us business owners who literally use it every single day, all day long. We can tell. Okay? So, how do you actually build a VA business? Well, you get a VA client. How do you actually get a VA client? Well, you need to be trusted by that person. Okay? Looking ready and looking professional, creating that business illusion, and actually building trust with somebody on the other end are two totally different things. So I meet women all the time with beautiful websites, beautiful portfolios, their Instagram account, lots of posts on it, and zero conversations with people, zero clients, zero leads, nothing. And they come to me because they think that they've actually failed the execution of something, right? So they're like, okay, Rebecca, I created this website, but it's not working. I'd love to know how I can change it to actually get this website to work for me. Or, hey, Rebecca, I've been creating and posting content, but it's not working. I would love to know what I need to change to get this content to actually work for me. So they think that it's some sort of execution element that they have failed in. But what they have done is they have followed instructions that are designed for visibility in the marketplace, right? It's a marketing thing, right? Being visible out there. but not for connection, credibility, and trust. And I know that there's a lot of, we could do many, many, many episodes about all of those things. But what I need you to hear right now is that AI will never help you build that credibility and trust. It will never do it. Literally never. Even if you go in right now and you say, hey, ChatGPT, can you help me create a email that builds my credibility and trust? No. It's going to write words, but it's a robot. It does not understand context. It does not understand relevance. It does not understand the person you are or the person that you are actually writing this message to, right? It cannot go back and learn 35 years of your entire life and become you. It never will, no matter how much you give it. So that advice, right? It's just basic, average advice, and it's going to produce just average, subpar results. I want you to think about this, like when you follow the advice of ChatGPT, the standard advice that it gives to start a VA business, it's like you're building a really cool store on a street that nobody drives down and nobody walks on, right? That's what's happening. So we need to understand that the most important thing when it comes to actually building the business is not getting the best sort of generic strategy that everybody uses, but it's actually learning how to tap into the trust of a human being. So the third reason why ChatGPT is destroying your business before it's even built is that, like I said, it erases those trust signals. So when it comes to this, humans, I want you to understand this, humans do not read messages logically first, okay? You do not interact with anybody in this planet logically first. We react emotionally. Okay, we always react emotionally. Even if you're super logical, emotion still comes in first because it's something we can't control. So we need to detect, okay, like humans try to detect whether a real thinking person is actually behind these words. And what AI does is it actually removes your ownership from language. Okay, so it removes who you are. It removes literally every single personality trait that you have from the language it's giving you. It actually can't even understand that because, again, it's a robot. It is not emotional. It can't actually understand emotion. So the message that you're sending, right? Let's say you put an email into ChatGPT and you ask it to write something. The message that you're sending, it might be technically right, but psychologically it's empty and it's not going to make the connection. And I cannot tell you how many times I have heard like, oh, Rebecca, I sent this email to a dream client. They didn't even open it. Or, oh, Rebecca, they read my email 5 times, but they didn't respond. Well, I can pretty much guarantee you that 95% of the time it's because you use ChatGPT to write it. People do not read words, okay? They feel that emotion that is behind the words. And the thing that I want you to understand is even if you change it all around and someone can't immediately say, oh, that's AI, they will feel it. Okay, they will feel it. Ultimately, what they're going to feel is, okay, I kind of feel like this person actually won't take ownership of projects. I feel like I can't rely on this person to do the work. I feel like I can't trust this person. And they may not even know why, right? They may not even know why. But ultimately, okay, VA clients are not hiring you because of your perfect email that you wrote or because of, you having all the right skills, right? They are deciding to work with you because of who you are as a human being. And it's already really hard. Let me just say it's already really, really, really hard to remove the corporate washing layers that we have in our mind and write something that actually represents who we are as a human being. It's already hard to do that. And it becomes impossible to do that when we layer in AI. I was actually just working with a student a few weeks ago, and she sent me an email that she was sending to one of her clients who she was doing a rate increase with. And she sent it to me, and I knew immediately that it was written by ChatGPT. And I call people out now on this, and I'm like, okay, so I know this is written by ChatGPT. And also, it's not going to get you the result that you want. Even though ChatGPT has looked at this, even though she put in a prompt like, I want to raise my rate to $3,000 a month with this client. What should I say, right? Like, what should I say? Even though she said all that, it's still not going to work. And it's because, okay, nobody's home behind the words, okay? Nobody is home behind the words. You sound helpful, but you don't sound like you are a reliable human being that they can trust. Now, the thing that I think we don't really understand is that behind all of this, okay, there is what I like to call this hidden addiction. And it's this hidden addiction to safety, okay? The thing is that most women who are starting their VA businesses, they know they need to put themselves out there. And of course they want their business to succeed, right? Like nobody wants to have a failed business. But, okay, what we're really ultimately afraid of is exposing ourselves for who we truly are. And the reason why is because in our corporate role, we are not celebrated for being ourselves. We're celebrated for being this professional version of ourselves, this person who uses specific language and corporate jargon and all of this, right? And the reason why we rely on AI so much when we're starting to build our business is because we actually don't feel safe in that business owner version of ourselves yet, right? We feel really comfortable in that sort of corporate professional version of ourselves because we've been doing that for a really long time, but we don't feel comfortable in that business owner version of ourselves yet. So we try to outsource that, right? We try to outsource that business owner version of ourselves, but we can't do it. You cannot do it, okay? The only thing that can actually turn you into that business owner version of you is action and making those sort of mental connections you need to make to actually become a business owner. What AI is really good at is keeping you in preparation mode forever and ever and ever and ever, because ultimately you don't want this business to fail, and you have maybe a little bit of a fear of being yourself in a professional setting, because we've been told our entire life that we shouldn't be ourselves, we should be this other version. And that really feels a lot easier to do, right? It feels a lot more comfortable to just stay, in this space, to stay talking to AI, to do what AI says, because we don't have to take any accountability, responsibility, or ownership over anything, right? But like I said earlier, did I say this earlier? I think I did. Confidence comes after action. Yeah. And confidence only forms, okay, after there's like that discomfort period, okay? So I don't want you to continue just rehearsing conversations or looking at lists of services and then never actually starting your VA business. I want you to start your VA business. There's nothing I want more for you, because I know how your entire life is going to change. I know that you're somebody who knows they're made for more and wants to create a life of your own design. But we need to really start being aware of when we can actually use AI properly to help us and as a tool, and when we're trying to outsource our own abilities to something else, okay? So I want you to just have this little mindset shift here before we wrap up. And it's that you will grow your business, you will start your business, and people will decide to work with you because people trust you and trust your judgment. And judgment, your ability to make a good judgment call with your clients and to give them a good service and to really support them in the way that you want to support them, it actually forms through decisions that you make and the authority that you want to build with your clients, right? If you are somebody who wants to be charging $3,000 or $4,000 a month, that sort of authority and positioning really comes from going through and making those hard decisions for yourself and making those sort of mental connections in your brain. And it's going to take time and it's going to be hard, okay? That's what it is to build a business, okay? That's what it is to build a business. So it's not supposed to be easy. You're not supposed to be able to just go on AI and say, what should I do? No, that's not what the journey of being a business owner is. It is a daily experience and project of understanding yourself and making those mental connections and stepping into that business owner version of you that can only be created through yourself. So I really want you to understand here, okay, that like I said at the beginning of this episode, AI is not inherently bad. And I do think in a lot of cases, it can be super, super, super useful. But I need you to understand that AI gives you answers. Okay? But businesses are built through making hard decisions and sticking to them, trusting yourself. And if you skip making those decisions, you skip taking that action, you are going to skip confidence. You're never going to feel confident in your business at all. Okay? AI can give you strategies too, right? It can give so many strategies, but ultimately businesses are built through decisions. So if you skip the decisions, you're also skipping that confidence. And like I said, now AI also gives strategies, right? But clients do not respond to whatever strategy you are using to set up your VA business. What they respond to is trust, felt trust from you. And looking ready and looking professional and making somebody feel like they can trust you are two completely different things. One is a skill and one is business illusion. I'll let you figure out which one is which, okay? And don't get me wrong, AI can also be great at like improving wording and certain things like that, but your clients, your ideal clients, are not responding to perfect wording. They are responding to how you authentically present yourself. And they are going to decide based on maybe that first email or even that first message, they are going to decide whether you can think for yourself, not whether you know how to throw something into AI. All right? So, all this being said, using AI is going to destroy your VA business before it even starts. It's going to turn you into a transactional VA. It's going to turn you into somebody who feels like they need to work their way up and charge super low rates to get started, which is absolutely not true. It's going to turn you into the VA you don't want to be. It's going to turn you into that $6 an hour VA until you start realizing that I need to stop using this. This is actually stopping me from landing the clients I want, from building the business I want. And what I need to actually pour all that time and energy into is myself, okay, and my own brain, and learning how to do this, learning how to build my business, make the decisions, and step into that business owner mindset. It is crucial. So thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Right Hand Revolution. If you have not subscribed on YouTube yet, please make sure you subscribe. And if you have not rated the show, I would be forever grateful if you could take like 2 seconds and just rate it right now. Literally, it's right at the top. It's super easy. All you do is just press how many stars you want. And I can't wait to catch you on the next episode. See you next time.